Hi there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Capital A Trading. Welcome to another episode of my Forex Weekly. If you're new, I'm just going to be going through the charts, looking at the top 10 investment opportunities for the week, showing you how I'm going to tackle them, bringing them to you. So if that sounds good, if you trade, if you take investments, hit that subscribe button in the bottom right corner. Stay up to date with the channel, keep track of what comes out each week. Of course, the Forex Weekly's out every Sunday. Before we start, I just want to say a quick shout out to my website. That's www.capitalatrading.co.uk. If you want to take your trading further, check it out. Read up about the mentorship program. Also, my sponsors, the Absolutely magazine. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for all the hard work. And again, check out my article on page 127. Right, let's get into the fundamentals.
Okay, regarding the news this week, there's not too much to write home about. Tuesday, there's something on the Canadian dollar. Just after the New York Open, I'll be having a watch on that, the speech, see what impact will be surrounding the Canadian dollar. Wednesday, it's going to be the Australian dollar. It's going to be a night job. So again, just going to be looking to see some impact on that. And we'll be talking about that very shortly with the currencies. The main news for the week comes on Thursday. Again, it's another night job. It's going to be surrounding the yen. It's their interest rate decision. So we just want to see the impact in that, which I'm about to show you with some of the charts. I'm looking to see some strength in the yen. It done some interesting things to the back end of last week. So I think it's now loading up to finally show some strength this week. Friday, again, there's not much to really worry about. I'll be focusing on the US dollar. Again, having a look at that Canadian dollar around the New York Open. But other than that, there's not much. I do actually care about this Swiss franc. I just need to see some more strength with that. So I'll be looking to see on Friday with the chairman's speech just to see what's going to happen surrounding that. So with that, let's get into the charts. Okay, first up is going to be the US30. The first thing I'm going to do, we're going to review what was said last week. In this week, around that 3,500 to the 35,300. Again, just give it a bit of space to breathe. I believe it's interacting with something around here. So again, just keep an eye on them levels. Let's see what's going to happen. Look for a wiki candle like that on the 4-hour time frame. And once you start to see that pressure being absorbed, hopefully we can start to see a much more powerful move to the downside with some of that US dollar news as well. Target wise, again, it's still going to be around the 32,400 to the 32 level, around there. So keep an eye on that one. That's going to be the US30. Okay, so as you can see here, around that level, if I just get down onto the 4-hour time frame, price comes up to it on Thursday night, starts to show signs of struggling, and then has that powerful move to the downside for the rest of the week. Good area. Looks like it's really going to start to take off now. So what I'm suggesting this week, as I break down the time frames a bit more, is just keep an eye on this 34,800 level. If it does start to push back up, I believe we could then get another movement. But if not, it looks like the train has already taken off. That was US30. What we're going to do now is look into gold. It's just progressing closer to the area that I mentioned recently. So first of all, I want you to understand that this scenario here on the daily time frame, it looks like a buy to sell situation where the market makers have reached up, hit a point, and then from there started to push the market down. I believe they're coming back to interact with something. I do like this candle here, this small bodied blue candle. I believe that's where we could get something start to kick off from this week. So that's going to be around, let's say, the 1990 level to the 2000 mark. Somewhere in there, I'm looking to just see signs of struggle, price hitting it and absorbing, and then pushing to the downside. That's going to be gold. Okay, so last week I mentioned that 1990 level to the 2000 mark. As you can see from there, ever since it hits that point, it starts to push down and make a nice move to the downside. We're now around the 1932 mark. Regarding this week, what I would suggest looking out for is if price does start to fight back and push towards, say, the 1980 level, that's a marker that it looks like they've left at that level. So I'm again expecting to see maybe a push from that level. Also worth mentioning is the 1900 mark. There could be a big buy push from there. So it's again kind of, let's see what happens. Let price open up on Monday. Let's see if it shoots to here first, then gets up to that level, or let's just see if it goes straight to there. I'm in favor of the 1980 level. And again, I'll be looking to see it push to the downside, maybe even back towards the 1800 mark, all the way down there. Keep an eye on that one this week. That'll be gold. First up for the currencies this week, like I mentioned with that news, we've got the yen interest rate decision this week. Something interesting happened on Friday surrounding the yen. And now I'm just going to kind of see what's going to happen as we start this week approaching that interest rate decision.
It's around the 168, 167, 500 level. As I just break it down a little bit, there's the scenario that was left on the 19th of April at 10 p.m., which again is an important time for the Asian session. And just watching how price action has played off of this area, it looks like the market makers have left their mark again. As I come down onto the 2-hour time frame again, you can just see it looks like they're interacting with this blue candle here, the one right at the top. As you can see, they've tapped into it right around the 168 level. And then, of course, later on in the week, we've started to see price push towards the 165 mark. So a nice 300 pip range. Now, this may take a couple of weeks, but what I want to see is the pound start the week strong, push back towards that area around the 167,500 to the 168. And then again, just make a similar piece of price action. So this may, again, like I say, take a couple of weeks before we then start to see it make its move, hopefully longer term, towards the 160 mark again. Keep an eye on that one. That's going to be the pound yen. Next up, very similar, is the pound Aussie. So again, I'm just looking at this area here around the 178 level. As I break it down a little bit more, this is the scenario that I want to see price interact with. It's already hit into it, and it's starting to show signs of that contract being placed again by the market makers. So I just need to see this area respected at the start of the week a bit more. And then, of course, with a Sydney session, hopefully we can start to see price push down. So that'll be in the night time for the UK. So let's keep an eye on that area around the 178. I am going to keep an eye on the 180 as well. It is a massive range, but there's also a mark that's been left there. So it's just about seeing what I want to see at a certain level. Keep an eye on that one. That's going to be the pound Aussie. Next up, I'm going to do the two majors. That's the Euro USD and the pound USD. Last week on this 30-minute time frame, I spoke about this area over here. It just went slightly higher, and then eventually on Friday starts to make its move to the downside. What I'm going to be looking at here is around the 109 level. I just want to see price push back towards, and then again with the US dollar news this week, hopefully see price push away with a New York session. Keep an eye on that level. The one I want to get onto is the pound USD. Now, again, the area I mentioned last week was the 130 level. I wanted to see price push from here, become a buy. It threatened to do that all week, and then Friday flushes through, heads to the downside. So what I'm looking at now is I do believe the US dollar is going to really start to take over on this chart. As I come down the time frames, I just want to see it kind of play on the underside of that 130 level. So it's going to come back up towards it and then start to make that move again, preferably later in the week. It's a common thing to see the US dollar get stronger, say Thursday, Friday. So again, let's just hope to see it push back towards that 130 level. If it does, wicked. If it starts to show signs of struggle, brilliant. If I can see the contract being placed, then a position will go in, and only then. Keep an eye on that one. The 130 level, I'm looking to see some US dollar strength. Next up is the euro pound. Now, again, the last time I can see the market makers in this chart is around this 85 level, the back end of last year. They come again recently at the end of March, just before the financial year turns over, and it hits that point and starts to push down. So there's a lot of key clues that the market makers have got something going on around that 85 level. As I come down the time frame, again, all I'll be looking at is seeing what price is going to do when it gets to that level. So keep an eye on the 85. We're going to be looking for a push, and I do long term see this going all the way down towards the 80 level, wiping out any liquidity that's going to be left underneath here. So keep an eye on that level around the 85 mark. I'm looking to see some pound strength on this one. Next up is going to be the NZDCAD. Recently, I spoke about that move from the 87 level. We've now gone down around 200 pips from that area. What I'm looking at now is price just pushing back towards the 86. So it's gone down a little bit. I feel like they've left something around this area. I feel like if the bearish trend is going to continue, it's going to get back towards the 86 and then push again. So we're going to be looking to see some New Zealand dollar strength at the start of the week, getting price back up there. And of course, with some Canadian dollar news later on in the week, hopefully we can start to see a move kick off. So I'm going to say, if I break it down a little bit, come on to the lower time frame, I'm looking at around the 86 level to the 85, 500, somewhere in here. There's definitely been some markers left. There's a big gap up there where, again, something key for the institutional players. So let's just see what's going to happen around that area. That's going to be the NZDCAD. Next up, well documented in my Discord channel, is the NZD USD. I spoke about that 0.70 level. I spoke about there being a massive sell from there. Now, a few weeks later, there's been a massive move to the downside. Long term, I spoke about it hitting the 65 level. It looks like we're now, 130 pips away from that level. Looking at this week, looking to see what may happen, I just want to see price get up to the 68 and continue with this bearish movement to the downside. Of course, there's a lot of news surrounding the US dollar. New York opens. Let's see if that powers a move to the downside. Last one regarding the New Zealand dollar. Again, if you haven't watched it already, check out the case study video that I did that will pop up at the end of this one. It was the 65 level. I spoke about the NZD Swiss franc. I spoke about there being a move to the downside. The target was hit last week. I spoke about this 64,300 area. It's come to the 63,600 and it's now continued with that move to the downside. So I'm just going to be looking at the 64,200 to the 64,400 this week and just looking to see if this area is going to continue with another push back up. And then, of course, there's some Swiss franc news later in the week. If that fuels it, again, I'll be hoping to jump on this bus and keep the target long term back towards the 60 level. Still ages away. It will be a good position to get if we can get it there. And of course, hold on for around 2 to 3 weeks. Keep an eye on that one. That's going to be the NZD Swiss franc. Next up is going to be the pound Swiss franc. Again, I was speaking about this 124 level recently. We've had a nice move to the downside towards the 121, around 300 pips. It's now come back to that level and just wiped out anything that was above here. Any liquidity, any stop losses, they've now been taken out. And then, of course, as you can see on Friday, price continued with a massive move to the downside. So what this area here tells me is that the market makers have stepped in, they've created a new transaction, and they're going to possibly retest it this week and continue with that move to the downside. I can see price getting back towards the 121, possibly this week. But what I want to see is price push back up there. And again, with some Swiss franc news, if it's in line, if it can synchronize with that, we can hopefully see a move from the 124 to the 121. Nice 300 pip range. Keep an eye on that area. That's the pound Swiss franc. The AUD Swiss franc has been brought to my attention. I'm just going to show you this weekly time frame. This is going to be my main focus for the week. So again, listen up. Make sure you take notes here. What I'm seeing in the past 5 weeks is that price is rejecting the 70 level. It's finding it very hard to go higher than this mark. So between the 70 to the 71, it looks like it's playing off of this scenario here with this blue candle. As I break down the time frames, you can start to see where it looks like the market makers have been adding their positions in anticipation of what looks like it's going to be a big move to the downside. Target wise, at least back towards the 65 level. So a nice massive 500 to 600 pip move if we can be patient. As I just break down more of the time frames, again, you can start to see where they've left their mark. So the key number is going to be around that 7,600. I'm going to give it a bit of space to breathe. I'm going to say the 7,400 to the 7,800. Just watch out for this level. If price gets back up towards there, again, like I've mentioned in the last two, there's some Swiss franc news this week. If that starts to struggle here, just creating that position, moving down, coming back towards the area, I'm looking to see a big move to the downside. So again, just be aware of that. Be aware of that 70 level. It looks like a massive move is pending. That's the AUD Swiss franc. That's going to be my main focus for the week, and it's going to be documented inside my Discord channel.
So that's all from me this week. Again, thank you for watching. Hit that like button, leave a comment. Let me know if there's any charts that you're looking at that you want me to maybe analyze over next week. Again, if you want to take your trading further, check out the website. That's www.capitalatrading.co.uk. Read up about the mentorship program, how it works, and basically what's available to you. Before I go, quick shout out to the sponsors, the Absolutely magazine. Check out the article on page 127. Have a great trading week.